Potter profile on Bellatrix Lestrange. Bellatrix was born in 1951 and was the daughter of Cygnus and Joella Black. The Black family were purebloods and raised their children to be proud of their pureblood heritage. She was the older sister of Andromeda and Narcissa Black. Bellatrix went to Hogwarts and was sorted into Slytherin, a legacy which her sisters also followed. Bellatrix, like the rest of her family, disowned Andromeda when she married a Muggle-born wizard Ted Tonks. She also disowned her cousin Sirius Black for being a blood traitor due to his different opinions on Muggle-borns. Bellatrix married Rodolphus Lestrange, a wealthy Slytherin, but most importantly a pureblood, keeping the family's pro-pureblood mentality and tradition. However, she did not love her husband and never displayed any affection towards him, and never had any children. When Lord Voldemort first rose to power, Bellatrix and her husband joined the Death Eaters. At some point, she received training in the dark arts by Lord Voldemort himself, and fell in love with him. He did not return any feelings towards her, as he doesn't understand the concept of love. At the end of the First Wizarding War, when Voldemort was defeated by a baby boy named Harry Potter, Bellatrix remained loyal. In 1981, Bellatrix, Rodolphus, Raspian and Barty Crouch Jr. somehow managed to avoid being captured by the Ministry. Desperate to find a way to revive their master, the group kidnapped Alice and Frank Longbottom, who were aurors for the Ministry and members of the Order of the Phoenix. Alice and Frank had also just had their first child, Neville Longbottom. Bellatrix and the group of Death Eaters used the Cruciatus Curse to torture the Longbottoms for information of Voldemort's whereabouts. The couple could not give any information, as no one knew what had happened to Voldemort or where he was. The couple were tortured so much that they were driven to insanity. Frank and Alice were sent to St. Mungo's Hospital for magical maladies and injuries, and were placed in the Janus Thickery ward for incurable spell damage. One of the worst side effects from the torture was that the couple couldn't even remember that they had had a son. The torture of Frank and Alice Longbottom caused a huge uproar in the wizarding community. The Ministry of Magic were pressured to find the culprits of this war crime. When Bellatrix was captured, she was tried before the Council of Magical Law and was sentenced to life in Azkaban with no chance of release, and was marked as Prisoner 93. Unlike other Death Eaters, Bellatrix didn't lie about her loyalty to Voldemort, and proudly declared her devotion to him in court, and claimed she would happily wait for his return. She later described herself as the Dark Lord's most loyal follower, which Voldemort himself believed to be true, and had a considerable amount of respect for her. She spent 15 years in a maximum security cell in Azkaban, which took a huge toll on her already unstable mentality. It also drained away her appearance until only the faintest traces of her beauty remained. In 1995, Bellatrix broke out of Azkaban along with 9 other Death Eaters. Once Bellatrix was reunited with Voldemort, he announced that Bellatrix, Rodolphus and Raspian were all faithful members of his inner circle and should be rewarded for their loyalty and devotion towards him, as they did not denounce him once they were captured and sent to Azkaban. Later that year, Bellatrix was one of the members of the Death Eater group led by Lucius Malfoy in a plot to steal the prophecy orb about Harry Potter and Voldemort's fate. When Harry said Voldemort's name, she became extremely angry and called him a filthy half-blood. This enraged her so much that she tried to cast a stunning spell on Harry, but the spell was blocked by a shield charm cast by Lucius Malfoy, as Harry was holding the prophecy orb he had been ordered to collect by Voldemort. Bellatrix would stop at nothing to get the prophecy orb, and even threatened to torture Ginny Weasley, who was only 14 years old at the time, with the Cruciatus Curse, while forcing Harry to watch, an idea that filled her with glee. When the Order of the Phoenix arrived to help Dumbledore's army, Bellatrix duelled against her niece Nymphadora Tonks and successfully disarmed her. She then began fighting against her cousin Sirius Black. Sirius began to taunt her during a duel, until she struck him with an unknown curse, causing him to fall into the veil guarding the death chamber, killing him. She then proceeded to battle and defeat Kingsley Shacklebolt until deciding to flee. After watching the death of his godfather, Harry was filled with rage and charged after Bellatrix, wanting revenge. Bellatrix started to mock his relationship with Sirius, to the point Harry attempted to use the Cruciatus curse on her, but only knocked her onto her feet. She started to lecture him on his failure on the curse, trying to teach him how to do it properly in the future, before attempting to torture Harry to demonstrate the full potential of the curse. Her attack on Harry was unsuccessful. She realised that the prophecy orb had been destroyed during the battle and started to panic and tried to summon it back, which made Harry laugh at her. When Voldemort arrived, she begged not to be punished and warned him about Dumbledore being close by, but he ignored her and attempted to kill Harry. As Voldemort cast the killing curse at Harry, Dumbledore arrived and quickly enchanted the Fountain of Magical Brethren statue to protect Harry and to stop Bellatrix from intervening as the statue pinned her down to the ground. Dumbledore had summoned the Minister of Magic, Cornelius Fudge, as well as several other auras via the fireplaces around the Utton Wall. When Voldemort failed to possess Harry, Voldemort quickly grabbed Bellatrix and evaporated out of the Ministry, but was still seen by Fudge and the auras, making them finally believe in Voldemort's return. In 1996, Bellatrix, alongside her younger sister Narcissa, went to Severus Snape's house at Spinner's End. Bellatrix started to interrogate Snape and voiced her disgust and distrust in him. "I don't trust you, Snape. As you very well know. Where were you when the Dark Lord fell?" Narcissa begged Snape to look after Draco at Hogwarts, as Voldemort had ordered him to kill Dumbledore. Bellatrix helped her nephew by teaching him acclimancy, which is the ability to block witches and wizards from reading your mind. As Bellatrix didn't trust Snape, she wanted Draco to be able to conceal the details of his mission. Bellatrix openly told her sister that she should be proud and honoured the Dark Lord had chosen Draco for this task. Snape shocked Bellatrix when he agreed to bind himself with Narcissa with the unbreakable vow, making sure Snape would help and assist Draco on his task to kill Dumbledore. Later that year, Bellatrix was living with Narcissa at Malfoy Manor. When Voldemort decided to stay there, she was the only resident who was delighted. "My lord, it is an honour to have you here, in our family house. There can be no higher pleasure." "No higher pleasure? That means a great deal, Bellatrix. From you." "My lord knows I speak nothing but the truth." To her horror, Voldemort started to humiliate her and Narcissa in front of the other Death Eaters, mentioning their niece, Nymphadora Tonks, had just got married to Remus Lupin, who was a werewolf. Bellatrix insisted that she and Narcissa had disowned that side of the family since their other sister Andromeda married a Muggleborn, so as far as they were concerned, Nymphadora was not their niece. Eventually he stopped teasing her, but advised Bellatrix to continue to prune her family tree, which she was eager to do. Although she was extremely loyal to Voldemort, she was still hesitant when he asked to have one of his Death Eater's wands to kill Harry, as his wand had a connection with Harry's, meaning he could not kill him. When the Order of the Phoenix planned to move Harry from Privet Drive to the Burrow, the Death Eaters attacked. Bellatrix and her husband Rodolphus went after Ron Weasley, who was disguised as Harry through Polyjuice Potion, and Nymphadora Tonks, who Bellatrix tried extremely hard to kill. But Rodolphus was badly injured, which helped Tonks escape. Soon after, Bellatrix found a copy of the Sword of Godric Gryffindor, which she secured in her family vault. The goblins knew on arrival that this was not the real Sword of Gryffindor, but they failed to mention it. In 1998, Harry, Ron and Hermione were captured by snatchers and were brought to Malfoy Manor. Bellatrix was eager to inform Voldemort and had a small argument with Lucius over who should call him. She glanced over at the captured possessions of the trio and saw the sword of Gryffindor, which panicked and angered her as she believed the sword was locked inside her vault at Gringotts. Her response to seeing the sword made Harry believe that there was something else hidden in her vault, which later led to the trio breaking into Gringotts and retrieve Helga Hufflepuff's cup, which was one of Voldemort's Horcruxes. Bellatrix ordered the snatchers to hand over the sword. One of them refused and claimed anything that they had found was now in their possession. Without flinching, she stunned the man who refused the sword, making the other snatchers turn on her, but they were no match for Bellatrix's skills, and she stunned all three of them and forced Greyback to his knees, demanding him to tell her where they found the sword. He told her they found the sword in the trio's tent. Bellatrix decided she was going to find out how they got inside her vault herself, and ordered Ron and Harry to be taken into the cellar, as well as ordering the stunned snatchers to be placed in the courtyard so she could deal with them later. Bellatrix brutally started to torture Hermione with the Cruciatus curse, repeatedly asking how they got the sword of Gryffindor from her vault, and if they stole anything else. "You're lying, you filthy mudblood, and I know it. You have been inside my vault at Gringotts. Tell the truth. Tell the truth! What else did you take? What else have you got? Tell me the truth, or I swear I shall run you through with this knife. What else did you take? What else? Answer me! Crucio!" In the film adaptation of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Bellatrix actually bit into Hermione's forearm and engraved mudblood into her skin. Even though she was in extreme pain, Hermione lied and claimed the sword they had found was a copy, but Bellatrix didn't believe this claim. Lucius suggested that Draco should go and retrieve Griphook. As he was a goblin, he would be able to tell if the sword was a fake or not. Griphook also lied to Bellatrix at Harry's request. Once Harry and Ron managed to escape the cellar, Harry had stunned Greyback and Lucius, while Ron disarmed Bellatrix. Bellatrix quickly grabbed her knife and placed it on top of Hermione's throat, demanding the two boys to drop their wands. She then pressed her dark mark, summoning Voldemort. Thankfully for the Golden Trio, Dobby arrived at the manor and unscrewed the chandelier, causing it to fall above Bellatrix's head, making her throw Hermione and jump out of the way. Bellatrix lashed out at Dobby, as she couldn't believe the disrespect Dobby had for his former masters. Dobby then grabbed the Golden Trio and evaporated. Bellatrix was so angry, she threw a knife at them to prevent them from escaping, but instead the knife got sucked up with the evaporation. Dobby successfully brought his friends to safety, but Bellatrix's knife had stabbed Dobby in the chest, and sadly, he died. Bellatrix and the Malfoy family were punished severely by Voldemort for allowing Harry to escape. When the trio escaped from Malfoy Manor, they also managed to take Bellatrix's wand with them, as well as some of Bellatrix's hair, which was later used in Polyjuice Potion to help sneak into Gringotts. During the Battle of Hogwarts, Bellatrix murdered her own niece in Nymphadora Tonks. When Voldemort called off his Death Eaters and asked Harry to turn himself in, Bellatrix was at Voldemort's side. When Voldemort unknowingly killed his Horcrux, he was extremely dazed. Bellatrix offered him help, which he coldly rejected. Bellatrix then offered to check if Harry was truly dead, but Voldemort refused her again and sent her younger sister Narcissa to check in instead. Unknown to Voldemort, Harry had saved Draco's life. At that moment, Narcissa decided to save Harry's life as well, and lied to Voldemort saying Harry was dead. Bellatrix and the other Death Eaters followed Voldemort back to Hogwarts, gloating about their victory. Voldemort gave Harry's supporters a chance to join him. When they refused, the battle continued. Bellatrix duelled against Hermione Granger, Ginny Weasley and Luna Lovegood, all at the same time. She cast a killing curse at Ginny Weasley, which just missed her by an inch. Molly Weasley saw this attempt and vocally challenged Bellatrix to a duel. Molly had already lost one of her children and wasn't going to stand there and allow Bellatrix to almost kill her daughter. Bellatrix laughed arrogantly at Molly, which then turned to rage as Molly began to attack her. The duel between the two was so intense that the ground around them became hot and cracked into pieces. Bellatrix continued to laugh at Molly and mocked her, even though Molly was casting powerful curses at her that only missed her by a few inches, until one curse struck Bellatrix in her chest, killing her. Molly's curse soared beneath Bellatrix's outstretched arm and hit her squarely in the chest, directly over her heart. Bellatrix's gloating smile froze. Her eyes seemed to bulge. For the tiniest space of time, she knew what had happened. And she toppled, and the watching crowd roared, and Voldemort screamed.